Every person lives from a center. For some, the center is success. For others, comfort. For others, approval, fear, family expectations, ministry goals, personal dreams, or survival. Welcome to our lesson on the will of God, our first pillar of the divine reality model of spiritual development. This is where formation begins. My name is Tasha, a digital avatar teaching these classes designed by Tim Atterbury, a missionary in Honduras. Tim has assigned me to this teaching task. I'll do my best to convey his thoughts on how we should experience the will of God in our lives. Most of us do not wake up and say, "This is the center of my life," but the center is revealed by the questions we ask first. What do I want? What do I feel? What do I need? What will make me happy? What am I trying to build? These questions are not always wrong. God cares about our desires, our needs, our hopes, and our future. But if these questions always come first, they quietly place the self at the center of reality. The Christian life begins somewhere else. It begins with God. Before we had dreams, God had purpose. Before we had plans, God had intention. Before we had desires, God desired. Creation itself exists because God spoke, God willed, and God brought forth a world filled with meaning. This is why spiritual formation begins with the will of God. When Jesus taught his disciples to pray, he said, "Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven." Matthew 6:10. That prayer is not small. It is not just a religious sentence. It is the surrender of the whole person. When we pray, "Your will be done," we are not asking heaven to adjust itself to earth. We are asking earth to come into agreement with heaven. And that includes us, our hearts, our desires, our choices, our future, our plans. Many people think of the will of God mainly as personal direction. Should I take this job? Should I move to this place? Should I marry this person? Should I start this ministry? Those questions matter. God cares about the details of our lives, but the will of God is much larger than personal guidance. The will of God is the divine intention behind creation, redemption, holiness, mission, and glory. It is not only something we seek when we need direction, it is the reality we surrender to, because God is the center of life. David prayed, "Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. May your gracious spirit lead me on level ground." Psalm 143:10. That is a beautiful prayer because it admits something important. Doing the will of God must be learned. It is not automatic. It is not produced by religious enthusiasm alone. The heart must be taught. The will must be trained. The inner life must be led by the gracious Spirit. Jesus did not only teach us to pray for the will of God, he lived completely surrendered to it. In John 4:34, Jesus said, "My food is to do the will of him who sent me and to finish his work." And in John 6:38, he said, "For I have come down from heaven, not to do my will, but the will of him who sent me." Jesus did not live as a man driven by private ambition. He lived as the faithful Son, completely aligned with the Father. Then, in Gethsemane, when the weight of the cross stood before him, he prayed, "Yet not as I will, but as you will." Matthew 26:39. That was not weakness. That was perfect sonship. In Jesus, surrender is not the loss of identity. It is the revelation of true identity. This matters because many people fear the will of God. They imagine surrender as losing joy, losing freedom, losing personality, or losing the life they hoped for. But the will of God is not the enemy of life. The will of God is the way life was meant to be lived. God does not destroy desire. He orders desire. Think of a river. When a river flows within its banks, it gives life. It waters fields. It nourishes trees. It carries movement and freshness. But when that same river breaks its banks, it can destroy what it was meant to bless. Desire is like that. In alignment with God, desire can become worship, love, service, creativity, compassion, and holy pursuit. But outside of alignment, desire can become pride, control, envy, lust, fear, bitterness, or ambition dressed in spiritual language. The will of God gives the river its banks. This is why Paul writes in Romans 12:1-2, "Therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, I urge you to present your bodies as a living sacrifice. Do not be conformed to this age, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may discern what is the good, pleasing, and perfect will of God. Notice the movement. We present ourselves to God. We refuse the pattern of the age. We are transformed by the renewing of the mind. And then we begin to discern the will of God. The will of God is not only discovered by looking for signs around us, it is discerned as God transforms what is within us. This is why formation must go deeper than information. It is possible to know the will of God and still resist it. We can know what is right and still hesitate. We can pray for His will to be done, then feel troubled when His will begins to touch something we wanted to keep. God does not only want outward compliance, He wants inward agreement. He wants to teach us to love what He loves, desire what leads to life, and release what has been shaping us away from Him. Philippians 2:13 says, "For it is God who is working in you, enabling you both to desire and to work out His good purpose." That means God does not merely command us from the outside, He works within us. He forms desire, He strengthens obedience, and when He exposes the heart, He does not expose it to humiliate us. He exposes it to heal us. God brings hidden desire into the light because He wants to restore us. He does not want us divided. He wants the whole person. The mind, the heart, the body, the imagination, the relationships, the calling, the future, all brought into agreement with His will. This is where freedom begins. Not the freedom to do whatever we want, but the freedom to want what leads to life. The false self must die. Pride must bow. Fear must learn trust. Self-protection must surrender to love. But the life that rises in union with God is not emptier. It is fuller, cleaner, freer, more whole. The will of God calls us out of the heavy burden of being the center. We no longer have to force life to revolve around our fears. We no longer have to defend every desire as if it were sacred. We no longer have to carry the weight of being our own God. We can ask a better question. Father, what do you desire here? That question can change the way we pray. It can change the way we suffer. It can change the way we serve. It can change the way we wait. It can change the way we lead. It can change the way we dream. Instead of asking God only to bless what we have already decided, we begin asking Him to shape what we desire. Instead of treating surrender as loss, we begin to recognize it as alignment. Instead of measuring life only by what we gain, we begin measuring it by what God is forming in us. The will of God is where formation begins. So here is the question for reflection. What desire in me needs to be surrendered to God? Maybe it is control, maybe it is approval, maybe it is comfort, maybe it is fear, maybe it is a dream that has become too central, maybe it is a wound that has started shaping my decisions. Take a moment and pray honestly. Father, what do you desire in me? Teach me to do your will. Reorder my heart by your Spirit. Let your kingdom come. Let your will be done, not only around me, not only through me, but in me. The will of God is not merely a direction to discover, it is a life to enter. And this is where formation begins.